Merry meet and welcome to Thrilling Thursday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoka, and I still have the wrong, I'm sorry, hold on just a moment. We have to have our fireplace back. That was our yesterday thing, and I totally forgot what I was doing here. Hold on just a moment, sorry about that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today for Thrilling Thursday. We are going to get right on our, what is wrong with this thing? We're going to get right on our lecture for advancing your craft. Here we go. I got to get the right fireplace going here, or it's just going to drive me cray-cray. Okay, I think this one will do. That's better. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to get started right away with our lecture and our class. And I hope that you're enjoying this course. If you haven't yet registered for the course, you can do that by going to arielgatoga.com/AYC. arielgatoga.com/AYC. And then you'll get access to the handouts. And those of you who are registered for that, you might also notice that we have on your lesson page the main lecture, and that's the more recent lectures. That's what those are going to be, plus your handout. And then if you scroll down, you'll see that there's a place for all of those vintage lectures. And that was really a teleseminar. And so there's a lot of Q&A. It's interesting, and you can go through that because there's a lot of great stuff with the Q&A. It's just disjointed because it's a live teleseminar, and I wasn't very good at those. I didn't know what I was doing. So there's a lot of the fits and starts. But anyway, I'm not getting rid of those. Those are still there for you. I think those were done, about 15 years ago or something crazy? It was a while ago. All right, so let's see. We do have chat threads open, so if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat thread. I do not have a premiere for today. Hopefully, we will get one for tomorrow. I've just been so busy at work. I haven't had any free time to get the stuff done for Ariel's Corner this week. I did get some cancellations today, so I have a couple hours, so hopefully I can get something together for tomorrow. But then we will have our rosary tomorrow. We'll have our Psalm spell on Saturday, and we will have a live stream lecture on Sunday. So the live streams are always here. It's just the uploads sometimes take a while because they take some editing, and I just need to find time. Anyway, so let's see. We do have a new shop that's opening up. It's got a very soft launch preview. So it's not part of our URL yet, but there is a link to that will be in the chat threads of this live stream. So if you want to take a peek at that, you can actually shop there now, but it's just a peek of what's going on. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for all of your amazing hard work on that. But we will have an official launch soon, and we will get that in an email and sent out to everybody as soon as that's happening. Lots of other cool stuff going on at Ariel's Corner. I've got 3 or 4 different little booklets that are almost done, so we'll probably have some quick succession releases on those. So you want to make sure that you're on our email list so that you get all those announcements when they come. And remember, we don't sell anything at Ariel's Corner. I mean, we have a shop, but we're not going to sell you stuff with our emails. The emails are simply to let you know, to keep you informed as to what's happening when we have a premiere, when we have new releases. And also, I do send out some inspirational type emails just to help your day go better. So there's nothing too annoying about our emails, but if you end up not liking them, you can always unsubscribe. All right, let's get going with this. No more blather, Ariel. Let's get going. We've got a lot to cover. So we'll start with our meditation. If you are in a place where it is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and more peace entering your body and mind. With every exhale, feel like you're able to let go of all the tension in your body and anything in your mind you do not want. Inhaling peace, exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove with a sacred golden light. This magical fire is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it easily and efficiently burns away everything unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into the sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We also invite the presence of our angels, our teachers, our guides. We ask that we be led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, more powerful, more magical, and more loving people. Thank you very much. Blessed be. Welcome to week 2 of Advancing Your Craft. This is the 3rd course in our trilogy of non-denominational witchcraft. Let's just review real quickly what we went over last lesson. First thing was to put away all your magical tools. So we are working with no tools for this 6 weeks. You can go back to them later. Just put them away, out of sight, out of mind. No crystal balls, no athames, no candles, no incense, no oils, no nothing. No magical tools. Then you wanted to review and update your magical desires or goals. And we started to hint about how we're going to be working with powers rather than named deities over this next 6 weeks. We talked about the value of the witch's trance and doing that, working with that daily. We talked about the different phases of the mind, superconscious, conscious, and deep mind. And we gave you some daily spell work to do. So you had plenty to keep you busy last week. And this week, we are going to take things even further. Before we get into too many nuts and bolts, I want to talk about how it's important for us to come to an understanding that spiritual power is real rather than theoretical. We know that it's real because spirit animates us. The principle of life itself animates us. The force that makes your heart beat and that keeps you breathing is the principle of life. It's the force of life, and that's a spiritual principle. It's a genuine principle. And as you work with all of these ideas in this course, you are more than likely to discover more and more how real this is. But if you don't understand the reality of something, it's hard to get benefit from it. But just like we take gravity for granted, even though we can't see it, we start to learn how to take spiritual powers for granted, even though we can't see them. So when you take some time to think about the different aspects of our minds, like we talked about last week, just think about what is the superconscious mind? What is that mind? What is mind? Just thinking about it, just contemplating it. What is my surface mind or my conscious mind? Where is it? What are some ideas that I have about that? What is the deep mind or the subconscious mind? And you can even write some of these realizations down as you start to think about these things. What is spiritual principle? What are these things? What is spirit? And if you write these things down, you're going to start to realize that you have all kinds of wisdom that you'll never be able to find in books. And that's the true meaning of something that's occult. It's hidden, meaning that it's been hidden in you this whole time. And so as you start to contemplate these ideas, and if you write them down, you don't have to write them down, but if you do write them down, you'll notice that you're writing a book that is something that you could never find on Amazon. You could never find online anywhere. You're going to come up with a grimoire that is so much more powerful for you, because it's something that makes sense to you because it's coming from you. The other thing that it's important, I think, for you to just start to contemplate is that having power is not a bad thing. It's not selfish in a bad way. It's selfish in a good way to have power. You want to access the power that you were given. Look at it this way. Because some people shy away from power. They think, oh, no, we don't want too much power because, power corrupts and all of that. But think of it this way. If you were born with a talent for playing the piano, would it be too egotistical of you to practice? It's like, well, I have this talent, but it's so egotistical for me to use it. Right? How ridiculous would that be? Sometimes we mistakenly believe that embracing our innate power is somehow egotistical or arrogant. However, in actuality, it's the opposite. Failing to recognize our abilities and our potentials. That's what true arrogance is, whether it's in terms of magic or any other talent. So it's important just to start out from that perspective and remind yourself of that right away before you do anything else, that it's okay. Not only is it okay for you, not only is it not bad for you to grow your power magically, it's very good for you to do that. It's very good for you to start getting things that you want out of this life and being happy in this life. That's a very, very good thing. All right, so this week we're going to talk a little bit more about those forces, magical forces that we're using. And we're using them in place of deities or spirits in this 6 weeks. So you're not going to be calling on Bridget. You're not going to be evoking demons. You're not going to be doing those kinds of things over these next 6 weeks. Well, now 5 weeks left for the period of for the duration of this course. You are going to be working with those magical forces as raw forces. So go ahead and set aside the words God and goddess and spirit and demon and angel and all of that for now, just for these weeks, and you'll go back to them later if you want to. Anything that feels to you like it's a power that's external from you, and that needs to be either supplicated or convinced or conversed with, needs to be put away for now. Because we are dealing with abstract, pure, universal forces instead for these remaining weeks. And I want you to think of magic for this time period as being purely scientific and not religious for the rest of this time. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not going to be having religious experiences as a result of this magic. In fact, many people discover that they have even more of those than ever before when they start working like this. Some people have already talked to me about, just after week 1, noticing more peace, more joy, more improved relationships, and quicker financial improvements than they were even expecting just from week 1. So expect more. All kinds of good things can happen from doing all of this work. And you're in for a real treat. So let's just not focus on anything external right now, just for now. Everything's internal. Think about infinite intelligence, infinite love, divine order, divine peace, perfect joy, perfect freedom, divine authority, whatever qualities resonate with you, whatever you would normally run to a deity for, or run to a spirit for, or supplicate God for. Think of those things that you're wanting as actual forces that you can call into being. Remember that the force of life itself animates you. Its entire function is life. It heals cuts, it regulates hormones, it supports healing. The only thing that tends to interfere with this process is conscious thought, or more frequently, deep-seated habitual thought. Habitual thought is what can really get in the way of our experiencing happiness and success in magic and anything else. So as we go about this process, you're going to notice that a lot of those habits die away, fall away of their own accord without you even having to address them. Remember that your entire life is divine. Your superconscious mind knows what you want, and it knows how to give it to you in ways and forms that are much better than things that your surface mind can come up with. So when you know that, it's easier and you're more motivated to call upon one of these forces, like divine order, if things aren't working out. If something is out of order, like finances or health or clutter, and you invoke divine order, you're going to notice that things start to change. And I would recommend that you continue invoking divine order until you start to get a sense of peace about the situation. It's all about the feeling. When you get a feeling of peace and certainty that things are working out, things work out. But you're just going for the feeling. That's all you have to worry about. Don't worry about the externals. They'll take care of themselves. You work on the feeling. Once you feel better, you'll notice things improving. And when you call upon one of these forces, in order to call upon them, it's not just, I call upon the power of divine order. You also must feel its presence. What does divine order feel like? What does that presence of that force feel like? And you'll notice its vibration, even very, very subtly. But as you continue focusing on that presence, on that feeling, that vibration, your awareness of it increases and expands. And then you become aware of it more and more. So you just keep invoking it, both in word and in feeling, until that's all you experience. And then that starts to make you feel better about the situation. And when you start to feel better about the situation, you know your spell has cast. And you'll see it start to clear up. You don't want to go looking over your shoulder, looking under the hood and saying, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Prove it to me. Prove it to me. Because that's not dealing with the force that's interfering. You just deal with the force. You deal with the force intimately and personally and start feeling better about the situation, and then let the situation take care of itself. Don't even worry about it. There's a divine dichotomy in magic. It's actually there's a magical dichotomy that we must get very good at, especially when we're advancing our craft. And that's, you have to want something and desire it deeply, and then not have any investment on how or if it manifests. You have to have both. You have to be able to be detached from the outcome completely detached from the outcome, and getting to the point where you just don't care about it one way or the other. But at the same time, you have this immense desire. So how do you do that? By focusing on the essence of what you want rather than the form. Because if you focus on the essence of what you want, and you are calling upon these forces, you get an immediate response, and you start having an emotional response. And once you start taking possession of that thing as energy in your body and you feel good, you don't care about the external. You know it's coming. It's exciting once it shows up, and it's fun, but you're no longer pushing it away by asking, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? I need it now. I need it now. Because that's the death of it all when you do that. It's important for us to continue to gain deeper and deeper understandings of all of the principles and concepts that we're working with by focusing on these universal principles as forces. And you can invoke and harness the forces of the universe very easily. Some people think of it as disrespectful to suggest that you can control the universe, but it's not. Because you're not really controlling it. You are co-creating with it. You are aligning with it and allowing things to clear up, because that's the way it works. That's natural. That's how nature is set up. It's important to understand that when we control something, if you say control, if you say command, I like command better. When you command these forces, it's a better word than pray or supplicate or beg. Because when you're begging and praying and supplicating, again, you're perceiving as some deity or spirit being outside of you, rather than something that you can become one with, that is already there at any moment of time and point of space. Right? So when you start looking and dealing with all of these things as forces that are at your command, it's much easier to get the results that you want, because you don't have to worry about them saying no, because you're not asking them for something. You're not begging them for something. Begging for things like money is not powerful. The universal forces are not put into motion by begging. And it's very important to remind ourselves frequently that it's neither arrogant nor disrespectful to command the forces, any more than it's not disrespectful for you to get up out of your chair and walk across the room. You don't say, oh, please, may I have some energy in my legs? Please, may I have balance? Oh, please, let me get across the room. You don't say things like that. You just get up and go. That's a type of command. You don't grovel for it. If you think of these forces as very good friends for a minute, if you ask a friend, can you please hand me that? They do it. You don't grovel for it. You say, please pass me the salt, and they pass it to you. It's a command framed as a request. Because even if you phrase it as a question, will you please pass me the salt? It's still a command, because you're not expecting them to say no. You're just telling them what you want. And of course they want to give it to you. And if they asked you for that, you'd give them the salt too. So asking, please pass me the salt, it's a friendly request. It's a type of command. Will you call me tomorrow? Please call me tomorrow. It's a command. It's a request. It's a command in the form of a request. So think of these forces for a moment as being like really good friends. But the difference between principles and friends is that the principles or the forces are absolute. Unlike a friend in three-dimensional reality, you don't have to deal with another person's ego because there's no egos associated with these forces. You're dealing with pure universal forces. It's the nature of these forces to respond. They are built to respond. Responsiveness is their function. For instance, infinite wealth is a principle. It's a force that you can call upon. You can invoke the principle of wealth by thinking of terms like infinite wealth, divine wealth, absolute wealth, universal wealth, unlimited wealth, however you want to call it. And you just need to say whatever your name for that force is. Infinite wealth now manifest for me as financial wealth in this situation, whatever happens to be. And then it's up to you to feel what that principle, what that force feels like. Where do you feel it in your body? What does it feel like? What does perfect wealth feel like to you? Where is it? Do you feel it in your heart? I always feel these things up in my heart chakra, but not everybody does. And there's a tingling, there's a relaxation, there's a peacefulness, there's a power, and you can just feel it vibrating. And the more you recognize that feeling of what universal wealth feels like, then the experience of that grows in your mind and in your experience, and you start to have more and more of an experience of that vibration. And then as that vibration starts to seep into whatever the situation is, you start to have a feeling of certainty and peace and joy about the situation. And you know it's all going to work out great because you invoked that principle. And you're no longer worried about that situation. You know it's just a matter of time and three-dimensional reality for it to clear up. So when you invoke that principle, you are commanding it in a friendly way. Infinite wealth now manifests for me as. Let's say you had problems with unsecured debt. That came up a couple times this week. I call upon maybe the principle of divine forgiveness, perfect forgiveness, because we think of debt forgiveness, right? So I call upon divine forgiveness. There's no debt in divine mind, I remind myself. You remind yourself that the infinite mind doesn't have debt. So if you're in debt and you need your debt forgiven, you have to recognize that the universe doesn't create debt. It doesn't see your debt as a big problem. It doesn't hold your debt against you. Think of if you had a puppy. Your puppy pees on the floor. You don't see the puppy as needing your forgiveness. The puppy was innocent. It still is innocent. An accident happened. So you take the dog out and improve its potty training. You clean up the mess. You love the dog, and it's forgiven. The universe would see your debt similarly. It forgives you. It cleans up your mess, teaches you how to avoid debt in the future, because you're working with a universal principle. You're not asking for some help from an external deity. There's nothing transactional about this. You don't need to give something to this principle in order for it to do something for you. You just need to connect with it. You need to become one with it. You need to feel the vibration of this principle. And then this principle vibrates in your life, and you get a response in your body of that feeling of what that vibration of perfect forgiveness feels like. When your debt is forgiven, you feel it. And that feeling becomes more and more acute as you become more aware of it. And eventually you start to feel very good about the whole situation, and you know it's all going to work out great. So you call upon the law of forgiveness, divine forgiveness. I'm forgiven of all apparent debt, which is now wiped clean in an easy and fun way, you might say. You could call upon two principles or two forces. You could call upon infinite forgiveness and infinite wealth together. But you could keep working through these principles repeatedly, calling upon them and experiencing that feeling, having as many sessions as feels comfortable for you, until you get that real sense, that real click inside of you. This is done. You don't need to work on this anymore. And then it's just a matter of time. So often when working with these principles, speaking out loud is very beneficial. because the deep mind, for whatever reason, seems to respond well to spoken words. But if speaking out loud isn't possible, you can hear yourself speaking it out loud in your mind. Another way to deal with them is to write your commands down. Those that eventually, when we come back out of the 6 weeks and we go back into using tools, that's when talismans can also become very powerful. But for now, just in a notebook. It's another option if you can't, especially if you can't speak it out loud. When you're only thinking about something, it remains unrealized and in its formative state. While thinking about it is helpful, you must take some sort of action to realize whatever it is you're working on. So speaking out loud or writing it down, and definitely feeling the presence, feeling the vibration of whatever force you're working with are necessary. Something else you can do that's a wonderful practice is you can write a letter to the principal and then have the principal write back to you. So you write, "This is what I need," and then you listen for the voice of that principal, and you write back and let it write back, and you write down what it says. It's a fascinating way to work. For instance, now, if you're, wait a minute, what am I doing? Okay, here we go. So the process of this is like learning how to play an instrument. It's practice. So if you're learning how to play the piano and you only practice it once, you're going to be disappointed with the results. But you'll improve quickly if you practice once every day or twice every day. Just a small session twice a day or once a day is sometimes all it takes. And you can think of your superconscious mind in this particular scenario as the piano teacher. You can think of your conscious mind as the person playing, and your deep mind as the part of you that is receiving the repetition so that it can do it autonomically for you. And the same thing goes with magic as with playing the piano. But instead of having manifesting as skills of the piano, you have things manifesting in your life, such as your debt being paid, or a new home, or a new car, or better relationships, or improvement in your health, or whatever it is that you're working on. So it's the same principle, though. You have to practice every day. And you don't take no for an answer. You don't argue with yourself. You don't fight against these problems. You practice. You practice the principles. You practice these magical techniques. Instead of fighting problems, you learn how to turn your back on problems, and you focus on the powers themselves and let them deal with the problems. A lot of people think, well, no, if I just turn my back on my problem, it's going to get worse. Well, if that's the case, then things would have been all fixed by now anyway. If you solving your problems was all that it took, your problems would have been solved by now, but it hasn't been working. So maybe try something else. Maybe try working on it magically, where you call upon a force, a natural magical force, and you connect with that force and you let it take care of it. And you focus on something else. You focus on what you do want, and let the problem be taken care of for you. If I'm in a situation where there's an argument happening around me, this is an example of how you can use these forces. I take a moment, and sometimes I'll even have to excuse myself to go to the restroom or something like that if I can't do it when in the presence of the argument. But I feel the feeling of divine resolution. I call upon divine harmony. I call upon divine harmony as a force, and then I feel the actual vibration of divine harmony. And if I need to help me completely feel that harmony, I will use my imagination to see these people having positive conversations with each other. But sometimes I don't need even to do with that. I just feel the experience of the vibration of this force called divine harmony in my mind and in my body, and I focus on it very clearly and repeat some sort of phrase to myself, such as, "Divine harmony now governs this situation." And that's just really to focus my mind, because it's the feeling that's important. And I find that sensation of harmony, that divine harmony, I zone in on it. I really focus in on that feeling, that vibration, and let it be the only thing that I experience for a couple minutes if I can. That's all it takes. You don't have to do this like for hours at a time. Just a little bit is all it takes. And then if I go back into that room, I notice things start to heal. It always makes me the most powerful person in the room because nobody else is obviously thinking in that way. So in an argument, everybody's using their own ego minds, their surface minds, and those are the weakest parts of ourselves. But if you instead think of working magic on the situation and focusing on a divine force that brings resolution and harmony, you'll always have the power. You'll always be the one in charge in any situation. Because I guarantee you, most people aren't thinking like this. Because if they were, there wouldn't be that big argument going on or whatever's happening. I was taking my dogs out a long time ago. I told this story the last time I gave this course, so I'll tell it again. And I kept, for whatever reason, I kept forgetting my bags, the poop bags. And it was so annoying because then I'd have to remember where they pooped because I forgot the poop bag. I'd have to take them home, go get the bag, go clean it up, and then come back home. And finally I said, wait a minute, I'm going to call upon a divine force. I'm going to call upon the divine force. I can't remember what I used. I think it was divine order. And I call upon divine order, and I just said to myself, every time I go out with the dogs, I always have bags. Every time I go out with the dogs, I always have bags. And I remembered that, and I felt the vibration of divine order. And sure enough, I stopped forgetting them. Well, one day, I reached into my pocket, and there was no bag there. And I said, but I always have bags. And that second, a poop bag flew by me in the air. I kid you not. It wasn't one that I happened to have with me that just got out, because this was a different kind. I didn't even know they had these at the time. It's a kind that's shaped like a glove. We didn't have those, but it came right at me, and I used the bag to clean up the mess and went forward. And that's the kind of thing that happens a lot. But I'd already set that vibration up. I always have bags. I always have poop bags. And so when I reached into my pocket and there wasn't one, I said, but I always have poop bags. And sure enough, there it came. So I went to, I think this might be written in the handout for this course, but I had gone to a conference one week, and I had to close my business. And so I wasn't getting paid for that week, but I was a part owner in this particular company. So I was required to be at this conference, but there was no pay. I had to just be there. So I remember thinking to myself, losing a whole week's income, that's kind of significant. And I didn't really save for this like I should have. I need to invoke. So I invoked, I don't remember what I did. Probably just divine wealth or something like that. And I invoked a principle, and I did a spell to ensure that the money would still come in so that I wouldn't be without. And so the conference was in Las Vegas, at one of those conference hotels that's off the strip, and there was no casino attached to it. And we all got, various afternoons off. We didn't have to work through the whole conference. So I had an afternoon off, and I thought, I have a friend that works over at the Ariel. I'm going to go over to the Ariel and say hi to them. They're a casino host over there. And, I'll sometimes go to Vegas and play, but only if I've saved money for that specifically. If I'm in a casino, just in a casino and I haven't specifically gone to play, I'll never play just because it's just not my nature to gamble with money that's not set aside for that. But I was waiting and waiting and waiting for him because he was really busy. And I get this intuitive hit. You should play the slot machine. And I thought, but I never play slot machines unless I've got monies earmarked for that. And I said, no, it must be, no, I'm not doing that. And then I got it again. You really need to play this slot machine. So of course I did. I put $100 or something in there. I'm like, okay, one time, and I'll just be without this $100. It's not going to be the end of the world, but at least I've followed my intuition. I first or second spin, I won like $300 or something. I thought, yay, I made $200. So I pulled the money out and I said, okay, well, this is going home with me. That's a help, right? It's nothing near like what I'm losing from closing my studio down, but at least I got this. I got another hit. Play it again. And I said, no, I'm going to lose I'm going to lose my winnings if I play it again. And it said, go ahead, play it again. So I put the money in there. The slot machine locked up because I won a jackpot. And I won like $5,000 or something like that. I think it was 5,000. It might have been 10,000. I can't remember. It was a lot of money. Much more than I lost from being gone that week. Now, of course, I'm not recommending that you go and gamble unless you're really led to do that. Because if you're going to gamble for the purpose of winning, you probably won't win. You'll probably lose. That's just how it works. But I'm telling you this to show you that the universe can work in whatever way it needs to in order to get your needs met. So, it really does work. Your job is to focus on your part, which is planting the seeds of desire and then harvesting them later. And to do that, what we are doing in this particular technique is working with forces of the universe and calling on those forces as raw power and feeling where the vibration is, becoming one with that. You want to use these forces regularly and get comfortable with using them in all aspects of your life. If you forget, what was I going to say? So call upon these principles, call upon these forces, whatever you need. Call upon a force that you think might govern it. It doesn't matter if you make it up. There's no list of these are the forces. The forces will let you know what they are. So if you need something, just think, well, what's the solution for that? Well, could that be a divine principle? Okay, well then I'm going to call on that force. If you make magic part of your daily life, your magic becomes more powerful rather than only something that you do occasionally. Remember, you have access to your superconscious mind just like anybody else does. Nobody's more or less special than anybody else. So if you're making up these ideas as you go along, it's coming from the right place because you're focusing on your superconscious mind, which will show you what force to use. So call upon whatever divine force that you come up with and tell your deep mind what you want. This gives you a very powerful boost in any situation and gets things moving in the right way. Like I said, you want to make magic part of your daily life. For instance, if your car stops working, you could invoke divine order and tell your deep mind, divine order is established quickly and easily to resolve this. You can keep calling on the divine principle that you're working on. You can keep calling upon the divine force that you've chosen and get a sense of that vibration inside of you. That's the most important part. You want to feel the vibration of that force. And you just keep it up until you get a sense that little click. There's peace and certainty that the situation is working out. And if you have to take some action, you'll be guided to do the right steps. You won't need to spin your wheels anymore. You don't need to come up with ideas. You don't need to research things anymore because that gets you nowhere. You know where that gets you. It gets you all tense and worried, and it makes things worse, not better. So you'll get what you want and more if you allow yourself to be led intuitively. And you use these divine forces to do that. Use the divine forces to start your day. For example, divine order governs every part of my day. Divine peace fills my spirit. Or divine peace fills my mind, my emotions, and my body today. Start your day with these kinds of invocations and know that you're calling upon these magical forces so that they have action in your life. They won't come and beat you over the head. They're just there in potential until you activate them. But once you activate them, they are activated and they work. If you're struggling with bad habits, you can keep calling upon a divine force and command that force. until you get resolution with that habit. You don't want to feel like you're at the mercy of your life anymore. So this is why it's time to stop complaining, stop feeling afraid, stop being upset, stop blaming people in situations and circumstances. This is the time to stop doing that, because that's a very different vibration. Instead, call upon the magical force that's in your mind, at least, that can heal the situation, that can correct the situation, and command the change that you want according to your divine right. You are entitled to this by the fact that you're alive. Learning how to do this puts you ahead of the crowd. Anytime something bad happens, you can say, I call upon divine good. I call upon absolute good. Only good can come from this. Or I call upon infinite good, and I extract all the good from this situation and let everything else disappear into nothingness. There is only good. So you keep that up and feel that sense of what divine good feels like in your body, and keep that up for even a minute if you can, until you get that sense of peace about it, that little click, and the resolution manifests in short order. Don't take no for an answer, because remember, the infinite doesn't say no. We do. So don't allow yourself to negate these things. This week, I want you to focus also, in addition to working with these forces, I want you to start thinking again about the witch's pyramid. Remember that we're advancing your craft, so you have to understand how your power bodies and the pyramid work together in a more advanced way. Previously, we separated them to build them, but now we want to work on them as a synthesis. So the power of imagination, for instance, is crucial in magic. You can create mental movies that you work with daily. But think about this. It's part of your air body. Air is naturally unfocused, so your mind tends to wander. If you notice that you need to stay focused, call upon your fire body. Fire and air work well together. Fire condenses the air into a flame. Your fire body is your desire body. And when you deeply desire something, you stay focused on it much more easily. So you've got the imagination and the desire working together. Your fire body, when it's involved, it works with the air body to keep your mind focused on your desire. This focused desire helps you, if you are using visualization, to see your mental movie repeatedly. Without a desire, your mind's just going to wander all over the place, because that's the nature of air. Faith is a core aspect of who you are. You can't be without faith. You don't need more faith. You already have all the faith you'll ever need. Your emotions indicate, though, what your faith is. Your emotions indicate what you have faith in. If you're feeling scared, worried, frustrated, tense, angry, or lonely, it means you have faith in something you don't want. So when working on your spells, you have to make sure that your emotions are relaxed and pleasant, because the pleasant emotions indicate that you have faith in the success of your spell. If you're worried about your outcome, it means that your faith is misdirected. So you want to pay close attention to your emotions. To maintain focus, you want to see your desire, and you can use verbalized incantations, affirmations, or commands to reinforce your intention until your emotions start to align with the faith in its success rather than being aligned to your problems. Those tense emotions are not a sign of failure, but they're uncomfortable because they indicate that you're misdirecting your faith. Much like scraping your hand against something, it's saying, don't do that. The reason it hurts is because you shouldn't be scraping your hand against that. It's not because you're being punished, or because it's your fate to have a pain on your hand. It means that you need to stop doing that. The emotions that are uncomfortable are there because your faith is being misdirected towards something you don't want, and your life is heading in a direction you don't want it to head. So instead, you want to use your imagination and your desire bodies to focus on what you do want and aim for your goal. And you use the divine principles, those magical forces, to condition your deep mind and to keep at it until your energy shifts towards those peaceful and pleasant emotions. And when your emotions are more pleasurable, you know your faith is directed in the right place. So remember, I don't need more faith. I need to direct my faith toward what I want rather than toward my problems. That's the secret there. If you have faith, remember in the Bible it says if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can tell a mountain to move and it will go into the ocean. Those are symbols. A tiny mustard seed has powerful faith because it knows how to grow into a mustard plant. It doesn't doubt its ability to do that. It has ultimate faith. The mountain represents obstacles or problems in your life. So in those Middle Eastern biblical symbols, that was clear to those people. To Westerners, sometimes those don't make as much sense until they understand them. The mountain means that no matter how big your problem is, if you have faith, like a mustard seed, believing that you have what it takes, then the mountain will move. Your problem will cease to exist. So a person's spell will work because they are focusing their emotions on the emotions that represent what they want rather than what they don't want. They do that by using their faith, imagination, and their willpower. And remember, your willpower is your desire. You don't try to will things into being or control your deep mind or other people. That's not what willpower is. You will yourself to keep focusing on your desire, and then your fire will burn brightly. And then your imagination, your air body will be focused. It's like stoking a flame under a cauldron filled with water. The water is your faith, and it will bubble up and create a magical potion that brings about what you desire. These kinds of witchcraft symbols are very powerful if you understand what they mean on a more esoteric level. Without that understanding, they're just symbols and they become very tiresome. But the cauldron and the fire can be very powerful symbols in this respect. And then the earth body is all about secrecy, which we've talked about ad infinitum, but we'll just touch on it again. You can use your earth body to support the water body and your faith by doing physical actions too, to prepare for your desired outcome. For instance, if you're casting a spell to achieve a specific weight or body size, you might start shopping for clothes in that size. This tells your deep mind that this change is happening now, which strengthens your faith. So you might start even looking in online stores for the clothes that you want. Or if you're casting a spell for a new home, maybe you're going to start browsing for household items like curtains and things. If you don't have the cash to buy those things, that's fine. You just go window shopping or like I said, go browsing through internet shops. Interact, though, as a customer, not an observer. Like if you're designing a living room for your new home and you need fabric swatches, then go get those fabric swatches to see how they work together. Get involved in the physical world with your earth body, taking concrete actions. Maybe start interviewing financial planners if you're doing a spell for a large sum of money. Let them know that you're expecting a significant sum soon. You're unsure of the exact amount yet, but you want to prepare. You might talk to, several planners and decide on which one you're going to use when the money arrives. This approach will help you to align your practical steps with your faith. Your air, fire, earth, and water bodies all contribute to energizing. So think of it like making tea. You don't use cold water, but boiling water to extract the essence. Similarly, you want to use your faith to be strong and heated, not cold. You want to achieve this by involving all your bodies together. And remember, secrecy is the final point on the pyramid, ruled by the earth body. You don't discuss your spells or objectives with others. They'll see the results when they happen. But until then, you don't discuss it. And keep all your preparations for your spells private too, except when absolutely necessary. You want to do all of these exercises on your own and in secret, and start contemplating them in the secrecy of your own mind. Start contemplating your witch's pyramid and see how these powers work together. And you build them by using them that way. We practiced in the first course by using small exercises, building one side of the pyramid at a time. But now you're actually doing magic, so they have to come together as a synthesis. So you want to be clear about this. You want to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the only way to achieve this is by thinking about it, spending time on it, and then practicing it. We're going to start working on astral work soon, but not this week. But the first step is this week, and that's remembering your dreams. So I want you to get a dream diary or any notebook. It doesn't have to be special. You can keep it by your bed with a pen or pencil, or you could use your memo recorder on your iPhone or something like that if you want. Many people say they don't remember their dreams, but record them every morning anyway. And if you don't remember anything, just write down you don't remember it. Do your best. Before you go to sleep, right after your spell, but before you start the mantra for deep sleep, tell your deep mind that you want to remember your dreams. Speak it out loud if you need to. And sometimes, like I said, that works better for the deep mind. Say, I want you to remind me of my dreams in the morning and help me remember to write them down. I want you to remember my dreams in the morning and help me to write them down. So if you wake up and you realize you haven't written them down, remind yourself, I'm remembering my dreams in the morning and I'm going to write them down. And don't stress about it. Just write it down. Sometime during the middle of the day, I want you to add one more thing to your daily practice, and that's the magic minute. Schedule a specific time for this if you can. Don't leave it up to chance or you might not do it. And it only takes a minute. Just choose a moment when you have a minute to yourself, whether it's alone or during a quick break or going to the restroom or whatever. Set a reminder on your phone if you need to. Find a quiet place where you can be alone and close your eyes. Call upon your orb of light and use the quick method that you learned in the primer or in the Beyond the Basics course. And just see that orb of light around you and sit there with it for 1 minute. Now, on my YouTube channel, I also have a magic minute that includes a mantra, and you can include that as well. And that's where you think the word blessed on the inhale and the word be on the exhale. And that's fine too. But just sitting in your orb of light for 1 minute a day. And I like the idea of using that silent mantra. The cool thing about this is that you are connecting to your superconscious mind at least once a day. And your superconscious mind doesn't need a lot of time. You can do 1 minute and that's enough. So if you do this for a minute, it's a great way to get that superconscious mind actively involved in your life. And you don't need any other goal than being in that light and connecting with your higher self. Just think of it as having tea with your superconscious mind for a minute. That 1 minute can take years of effort and struggle away from your life because you'll start thinking more ingeniously. You'll begin looking for solutions rather than running away from problems. Things will start to manifest quickly and easily and joyously. And you'll start to live the charmed life that you've always wanted to live. And people might wonder, what's going on with you? And that's fine. You don't have to tell them anything other than, yeah, I'm having a good day. This practice is just 1 minute a day at a minimum. Now, you can do more if you want, but 1 minute is all you need. Doesn't take a lot of time. Okay, so finally, I'm going to talk about mental and spiritual alchemy, because I know we're getting very late in this, but these classes do run a long time. So alchemy is the process of turning a base metal into gold. It's a specific science that includes very physical and abstract elements as well. So alchemy as a science and as a practice is its own thing. But what we're talking about here is not all of that physical work of alchemy. What we are learning how to do is live your life so that whatever you have at hand is something that you can turn into gold. And in this context, gold can mean anything you need. It's anything valuable, whether it's spiritual, mental, currency, whatever you need. It can be physical wealth, health, good relationships, anything that you consider valuable. Think of the fairy godmother in Cinderella. She needed a carriage, so she used a pumpkin, rags, and mice. She made the best of what was at hand and turned it into something she needed. So that's what we're doing. The concept of magic is often kept secret by being hidden in plain sight. And one of the most powerful magical techniques that has been in the open for centuries and misunderstood as a moralistic principle is the golden rule. It's called the golden rule for a reason, because it's the rule for making gold. And people think that it means being a good person. It's not. It doesn't mean that necessarily. It's using a technique in order to create gold in your life. They've been saying it wrong for so long that people think that the golden rule means treat others as you would like to be treated. But that's misunderstood, because then people think it's sort of like a good karma thing, encouraging niceness without any expected inherent reward. People believe that you should follow it simply because religious leaders and parents tell you to do that. But that's not what the golden rule is. The golden rule is an alchemical process. The real golden rule should be stated as treat others as yourself. This is because your deep mind interprets everything in your world as being a part of you. Whatever you do to anything in the world, whether it's a book, a person, an animal, a physical object, your deep mind takes it as a command, as that's what I want. That's what you want. You're mistreating a person. Oh, okay, you want to be mistreated. If you feel guilty about something, your guilt signals the need for punishment. So if you're harboring guilt, your deep mind says, oh, you desire punishment. Got it. And it seeks the easiest way to achieve what it perceives to be your desire. And that traps you in a cycle. And the quickest way to address this is to start seeing things in your world as your deep mind sees them. And that's extensions of yourself. Remember, your deep mind perceives every person, thing, and circumstance as you. It doesn't sleep either. It observes and records everything. That's why any skilled hypnotherapist can make you recall what you drank on a specific date years ago. The deep mind remembers everything. And it's a multitasker too, unlike the conscious mind, which struggles at multitasking because it's not capable of it. But for the deep mind, it's no biggie. There's no past to the deep mind, no present, no future, here, there. There's no differences. It doesn't understand things like that. It doesn't comprehend things the way our conscious minds do. Therefore, it manifests things quickly when we really change our minds properly through our spell work. But if you don't change how you interact with the world, you'll be at cross purposes with yourself. And that's why many people don't achieve lasting success with magic. They perform a good spell, but then they undo it by reverting to old habits. They constantly negate their efforts by thinking negatively about themselves or other people and start worrying. If you're worried, your deep mind interprets that as a desire for more things to worry about. So you need to stop worrying, cold turkey, and find a way to shift your focus. I've given you some tools today, and use them. Call upon these magical forces. Concentrate on what you want, not on your worries. Also, consider how you speak to others. If you're mean, or your deep mind thinks they want, then your deep mind thinks they want meanness, and it delivers that. Instead, if you focus on being loving and kind, your deep mind says, oh, we're doing loving and kind. Got it. They're loving and kind. They want more love. Oh, they're giving. Oh, they want to be given. They want to receive. When you're giving and you're loving, then you receive that because your deep mind sees that. The only things, if you are giving from a transactional point of view, the deep mind knows that. It knows your motives. It says, oh, they do things with an ulterior motive. They want ulterior motives. Okay, we'll give them more of those. So you need to understand that your interactions with the world are commands. If you want more good, you have to give more good as a desire to receive more good. It's not transactional because the deep mind understands that giving and receiving are the same things. But if you're thinking of it transactionally, then it's going to give things to you in a transactional way. The only way to do these things is to see the good that you want all the time because your deep mind is always paying attention. Be diligent with your attention. Remind yourself constantly of what you want. Your surface mind isn't great at these things. It's good at planting seeds, but it's not good at the follow-up all the time. So you need to plant those seeds. And then you need to understand that you're still planting seeds when you're not being conscious. So look and see what seeds you're planting when you're not being so conscious, and then fix them. For instance, if you've noticed that you've gossiped about somebody, instead of feeling guilty about gossiping about them, say, I call upon the principle of absolute love. Absolute love dissolves everything unlike itself. I call upon the principle of absolute forgiveness. I'm good, they're good, all is well between us. And reverse it right there. And then the deep mind says, oh, we're reversing. Got it. It's about leading your deep mind through your actions. It responds with, okay, we're reversing things now. All the bad is becoming good. Great, got it. So that's what we're doing. All the gossip is now love. So now we're doing love. Right. That's the golden rule. It's not just do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's nice. But then it's just you thinking you're doing something because a spiritual person would do that. No, you want to do something practical. You want to do it out of self-interest. And in this context, self-interest is a very good thing because we're talking about the self with a capital S, right? You can't help anybody unless you are taken care of first. They even tell us that on the airplanes, to put our own oxygen masks on first. So do that always. Do that always with the golden rule. You won't be at your best to help anyone until your needs are met. And so you're not practicing the golden rule to be more spiritual. You're practicing it to get what you want. And it's not only okay to get what you want, it's essential to get what you want. And your superconscious mind puts those desires in you in order for you to fulfill them. That's how you grow and teach others. And that's how the whole world evolves. Things evolve because collective mind starts to adopt new ideas, not because you're telling them things, but because you're demonstrating these things. The more successful you are at this, the more people notice intuitively, and the better they become at them. If you start becoming successful, the idea of success will be embedded in the group mind, making it easier for other people to succeed. And that's why you should never be jealous of somebody. If you see a competitor in business doing really well, bless them and wish them even more success, because your deep mind says, oh, we're successful. Yay, we're doing success. But if you think negatively, they don't deserve that. What are they doing? They're crooks. Your deep mind says, oh, we don't deserve success. That's what we're doing now. It doesn't understand me and them. It's pretty simple, but it's very, very powerful. When you strip away all that religiosity and you look at it as practical magic, it's really amazing. It's a good idea to take a break from all religious notions and focus on principles of magic instead, because you can achieve a lot more than you thought was possible. Then if you decide to return to those religious symbols later and terminology later, you'll have a very different understanding, and you won't be affected by the superstitions of it all, because you'll understand the power that lies underneath it. And you'll understand that that power lies within you. You're not more powerful than anyone else, but you're not less powerful either. You have the same potential as anybody else to achieve what you want. It doesn't matter if you're older, less educated, younger. There's always an example of someone in a similar or worse situation who has succeeded. So if you start responding to that idea with, yeah, but, you need to examine the yeah, buts. And look at those and decide to give those up and instead align with those forces and allow yourself to shift your focus away from all of that and toward succeeding. So this week, I want you to continue the same daily spell and trance work that you did last week, but you're going to now start to incorporate more of the calling and commanding of the magical forces at your disposal. Work with your pyramid powers and energy bodies as a synthesis. Contemplate them and observe how they interact to enhance your magical power. Read more about intuition. What did I say that for? I don't know. Don't read more about intuition. Don't do that. Start practicing the magical minute once a day and incorporating the golden rule, or I call it the rule of gold. I prefer the rule of gold over the golden rule because it's more precise. Focus on extracting gold and transforming everything in your life from the dross to the gold. Become wealthier in this gold in every situation. Remember, there's gold in everything if you learn how to see it. So focus on it correctly. Focus on the gold and disregard the rest. Negative thoughts and limiting thoughts are going to just fall away of their own accord, because that's all they are, is nothing. Anything negative does not exist. So you have the power to focus on the true. There's a lot of magic to be done this week, and I hope you'll be very active, avoid complacency, and start thinking about the big changes and expanding your sphere of influence right away. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next week, blessed be. Boy, that was a long class. I hope some people are still here. Let's see if we have any questions. So funny. What is a natural witch? And what if you're called that as a teenager? It's a bunch of BS is what it is. And everybody loves to be elitist about things. But I'm a natural witch and you're not. And I'm a familial witch and you can't learn this if it's not now. It's just like, shut up. You're a witch if you say you're a witch. And you're a witch because you decide to be. There's no such, I mean, some people are born naturally talented at music or dancing or basketball. Sure. And they may succeed at those things if they get the right kind of training. But a lot of people can get just as good by learning the skills. And sometimes in music, I've noticed people excelling and surpassing the ones with natural talent, because the ones with natural talent tend to skate on their natural talent and don't work as hard. And very frequently, the people that don't have as much apparent natural talent have more than they realize once they start building those skills. So it's really a skill set that you have to worry about more than natural talent. Because if they're a natural witch, then they should be achieving all kinds of cool stuff in their lives. And if they're not, and all they've got is I'm a natural witch, that's all they've got to show for themselves, is that they call themselves that, which is a lot of what I see out there. But they can't demonstrate it. They can't really use their magic to create positive change in their lives. Then what good is it, right? So I don't like that term. I don't like that term, and I get it. I hear it a lot. And there's an elitism that goes on in the so-called craft community that I do not like, and it's not good for anybody, especially not the people that claim it. Is it wrong to use magic to win money from lottery games? It's not wrong. It's not wrong, but why? But you're not getting the whole idea of this course if you're saying I want to use magic to win lottery games. Because then you're saying that my wealth is limited to that. What you want is the essence of what that lottery game is going to bring you. So you want all that money, but why do you want it? And you go through those essences that we've talked about, and we talked a lot about it in the intermediate course too. If you're focusing on the essence, it'll show up however it needs to show up, not necessarily through a lottery. Because it's not about the how, it's about the what. And it's not even about the physical what, it's about the essential what. Because if you get your superconscious mind involved, it's going to be a lot better than anything you could conjure up. So be careful of outlining, oh, it needs to be through the lottery, or it needs to be through this job, or I have to have this, or I have to have that. Looking at the essence of what you want. If you want money, let's say you want financial freedom. You want to be able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You want to have all kinds of savings. You want to be debt free. Whatever those things are, those are the essences of it. And if you do a spell for those essences, the sky's the limit on how many ways that could come to you. But if you only think that it's through the lottery that you're going to be able to have those things, then you've kind of shut down your magical flow already. Because that's not how it works. It works that you're planting the seed, and the way the plant looks is really up to the universe. The outcome is up to the universe. You want the result of being financially free. You don't necessarily want the result of winning the lottery. Because if you have the result of winning the lottery, there's no spiritual principle to back that up. There is no principle of lottery winnings. There is no divine lottery winning principle. That's not a thing. But there is a principle of divine wealth. And some people do get divine wealth through the lottery, but most people don't. Okay? How can we unblock the belief that we do not have the powers to conjure? By working, by doing all of the stuff that we tell you to do. All those exercises, they're designed just for that. They're designed just for that. And if you're starting with this course and you haven't done the first two courses, you may want to go back, because we spend a lot more time on that on the older courses. And we're not spending as much time on that in this course because we are assuming that you've already dealt with all of that. Good questions. Thank you so much. You guys are amazing, and so are those those moderators. I don't know why I always become Italian. So are the wonderful moderators. Thank you, moderators. Today we had the lovely Diane, Jennifer, and I am her eminence, plus the lovely Dre. Thank you so much for being here, and Honey Paw. Oh, Honey Paw too. Everybody was here. Well, thank you everybody for being here. And we'll be back with lesson 3 next week. I hope you enjoyed today. I'm going to do my best to get this edited and up in the next couple days. Plus, I'm going to try to get another 1 or 2 videos up as well. So I've got a lot on my plate. Here we go. Thanks again for being here. We'll see you next time. Blessed be.